Welcome once again to Living in the 21st Century. Joining me today is Anjulie Djearam. Anjulie, it's a pleasure to have you here on Living in the 21st Century. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Anjulie and I'm 17. I'm a soprano. I'm from Victoria, Canada. And yeah, I started singing when I was about, I think, 8. So I've been singing for a good 9 years now. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm amazed at how so much young people today maintain the integrity of singing opera, singing soprano, singing in classical. It seems so outdated sometimes compared to the secular music that you would hear today. What really draw you to classical music?
So it was a funny story. I started off playing piano with my siblings, and I was really young at the time, and we were living back in Yukon where I was born. And I think just before we moved, my parents asked the piano teacher how I was doing. And the piano teacher was like, well, she's not that good, but she's got a really great voice. And so then
Nice.
I think when we moved to Victoria, my dad saw an ad for a music teacher, and she came to our house, and I think we sung Silent Night and some really basic, simple songs. And then she introduced me to classical music, and I kind of fell in love with it ever since then.
Oh, interested. I sorry when you asked me not too long ago if you should prepare to sing. I should have said yes. So what is your future like in this special area of music? I know that there's still a lot of opera and classical going on. I remember me as a kid growing up, we had in my community, there was one radio station called Radio Fusion. And every midday you would get classical and opera. I can remember you would hear music from Beethoven, Sebastian, Tchaikovsky. I mean, the list goes on. Mozart, the list goes on. And I somewhat like music. I mean, I'm not a singer, but I devoted a lot of my time to the performing arts. I promote that on a yearly basis. And I know a lot of opera singers, a lot of them. And it's something I do annually for the exception past 2 years because of COVID and so forth, where I would have them come to the studio and promote their talent and so forth. But my question to you, what future lies in terms of making a career and being paid well that you can get on with your personal life in a prosperous way? What do that art culture has in store for young people today?
I think it's obviously very difficult to talk about because with the uncertainty of things like the pandemic and just in general the art field. But I think there's definitely a lot of promise for young performers like myself. I think there's so many opportunities out there. You just have to look for them. And I think that if you're devoted and you're looking in the right places and you're making connections and you're trying to reach out, I think you'll definitely find that there's a lot of opportunity for young classical performers. So, yeah.
Well, I agree, absolutely. I think that classical was one of the most prime foundations for the art form in terms of music. Over the years, so much different types of music had come up into society, and the reality, the listeners or the younger generation ears are inclined to more things like rap and soul and these different art forms. And it somewhat pushed the classical and opera on the back burner. There was a time when even Procter and Gamble, that large company, who had promoted the operas. Matter of fact, when they were selling their soap, they would always have someone sing an opera to promote their soap. That's why you will hear about soap operas. That's where the foundation of that came about. But since then, the evolution of music to the younger generation ears seems to vary so much. Is how can we remarket or reestablish ourselves? Because I believe that classical has its place in society. I think it is something unique to most music in the form that not only does it soothe the soul. I think there were years ago where, even in Russia, on some surgeries, classical music were used to, rather than using anesthesia or something, classical music were used as a way to just tone the mind down, the body down before surgery is performed. Even the place where I work, we use music as a music therapy, and to some of the patients. So I do believe that classical and opera has its foundation in music and in the world, so to speak. But how can we as young people establish that fact, or to educate this younger generation to the benefits of classical music, more than just music or the art form, but also has its own scientific purposes in the lives of humanity? What you think we should do about that? I know it's a mouthful for you.
I was just going to say, wow, it's a very big question.
I'm testing your brain.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Who knows how we're going to, really push that out. But I think, I don't know, I think that just like staying connected and like going to shows, like I was actually quite surprised because like, it was like you were saying, like you'd assume that most of the younger generation, they're like more interested in like modern day music and like genres like rap and hip hop and things like that. But there's actually a big population of people who still go to operas and like attend live performances because there's nothing like it.
Yes. Do you think it's getting the kind of financial support it needs to get in this time and season? I know of one opera singer who I know very well, and even her husband doesn't support, who is probably in a position to do so, doesn't support that art form, but yet still they will go to the Boston Pops and pledge and give their financial support to the Boston Pops for some reason. And I don't think people should look at it from just a micro level if you're not big enough, like the Boston Pops or Symphony or something like that. But the whole concept and idea of nourishing this art form financially, I think should be an obligation to society. As I said before, it's more than just an art form. It has its scientific, mental impact on people's mind, and it does a lot for the human body. But as for you, one question we'd love to ask you: do you see yourself in the future actually like promoting your own company or having your own group put together and starting your own business?
Great question. We'll see. There's a line my dad always uses whenever I like to think about the future. He's always like, oh, well, like, we'll see. Finish like the grade you're in, and then we'll talk about it. And I feel like as much as I love to over prepare and like look into the future, I think there's definitely an aspect of like, I guess like being spontaneous with it. So currently, I don't know. We'll see. Right now,
Sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I'm sorry.
Right now, I'm really focused on like my solo performance career. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any like short recordings that I can have probably injected into this interview? Like
I mean,
two,
I
3
do have a
minutes.
YouTube channel
Sorry?
that I do have a YouTube channel that I could
Oh, you
totally
do? Oh,
send you
nice.
guys. Yeah.
Okay, I'll find something out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So beside music, what else do you do? Are you at college right now? What are your
Yeah, I'm currently a senior in high school. So right now I'm just like applying to universities and figuring out the future.
okay?
Yeah.
And okay, any major areas or fields that you would like to specialize in?
Well, definitely music.
Definitely music.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about do you have siblings? What your family tree is like? Did you born in Canada? Did you migrated to Canada?
Yeah. So my family all moved to Yukon, which is like up north in Canada. And then we lived there for about, I think, 7 years. I was born there. And then my brother had to go to university there. And because it's a little bit of a small town, we moved to Victoria, which is a little bit down in British Columbia. And we've been living there ever since. I have two older brothers, and I stay with my parents and my grandma. Yeah.
Okay. What is your encouraging word to young people who may be in between minds, whether they want to sing, choose the next career path, or try to do a combination? In this time and season, the younger generation are confused, and believe it or not, they're looking for young people just like themselves, not necessarily mommy and daddy to give them advice. They're looking for young, they're looking for young, intelligent people just like yourself that they can idolize and look up to for guidance. And you may not see it yet, but sometimes young people like yourself have more vision and insight than the older folks, even your very mom and even your very dad. You see things out of the lenses of your eyes in a different dimension. While mom and dad may be stuck in one realm, you're seeing it differently, and that's the same realm that young people your age may be very well seeing it. So with that being said, how would you like guide someone around your age who looking to make some good career choices? And you may tell yourself, well, listen, I'm too young to give you that advice. Find out for yourself. But deep down, the reason why someone may ask you is because they see something in you that you may not even very well see yourself. And they're looking for guidance from you. So with that said, what kind of guidance would you want to say to young people who are messed up in their minds and want career advice and making choices?
That's really tough because I'm still figuring it out. So, like you said, like I feel like I'm in no position to give any advice. But I feel like as long as you're doing what you love and you're happy with what you're doing, I think in the long run it's going to be okay. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to draw you off from your music direction, but is when I get young people like you on my show that who are so very intelligent, and I want you to trust me on this, Anthony. There are young people out there who are messed up in their minds, seriously, psychologically messed up. You probably had a better break in life. They don't trust the older people for a lot of reasons. When they look at youthful people like yourself, they're actually seeing themselves. But more than importantly than just seeing themselves, they are seeing an intellectual and intelligent person. And it could be very well your friend that sit at you in your classroom. She or he may be looking up to you and you don't even know it. And one of these days, they may ask you a question. And you may say, well, seek it somewhere else, right? And they may feel a little bit depressed because that's the answer they get. I'm not trying to entrap you anyway, but I'm trying to let you see sometimes how important you are even when you don't recognize it. And other people recognize it. And that position puts you in a place where you even try to rediscover life, even at your own age, that you could be a mentor for many people. And I say this to say all of this. In the past years, we have a lot of young stars growing up, Hollywood stars, you name it. All of them went on drugs and went in psychiatric hospitals. They were governed by their parents and their lives were all messed up. And it seems to me the younger they were as a superstar and the fame and fortune they came into, they make a difference in their life. And thousands and millions of people had followed those people. And whatever they do seems like the best way to go. And that's why society is so messed up today. I'm saying this to you because I see a very bright, intelligent young lady that I'm interviewing here today who has a clear cut somewhat to where she wants to go, majoring in music, whatever the case may be. And it's not so fortunate for young people this age to have that vision. And never think for 1 second that you're too young to give good advice. But there will be a lot of young people looking up to you for good advice. With that said, do you see yourself in any mentorship positions, even as you pursue college and go through music and become a superstar, whatever the case may be? Do you see yourself in a mentorship position for other young people?
Yeah, I think originally my plan was to perform for as long as I can and then, maybe eventually go into teaching because I've always had a knack for helping other people and stuff. So I think eventually down the road, I will take up teaching because I love it and I think it's fun. And after, so many years of performing, hopefully, I'll be able to help more people who want to perform and continue classical performance.
Well, that's beautiful. As a teacher, what we were just mentioned a few minutes ago, even is somewhat a prerequisite of being a great teacher. As a teacher, the skills that you require are more than just teaching a specific subject. Kids looks up to teachers. They're like their second parents. In some cases, may very well even their first parents. And I think teachers have a great opportunity on their hand to change people's lives permanently for the good. And I think that's a good career choice you're looking at. I don't think it was by error that we had this or have this interview today. For some reason, I was going through my Facebook and come across with him, and I just texted you and so forth. And here you are today on the show. I would like you to, in these next few minutes that we have, to speak to young aspiring artists, what they think, or what you think rather, should be the best decisions they should make in their life in terms of aspiring to becoming a good artist. Not only in terms of staying away from drugs or following bad company, but that positive attitude, what would you like to say about that? Dig deep in your heart.
I think, yeah, it's just about like keeping that drive and passion towards what you love and what you want to share artistically, that's gotten me through, everything. Like, I feel like whenever I've had like, a setback or anything, like something that always gets me back on track to like where I want to be is just reminding myself how much I love my music and how much I love to sing. So I guess for the future, to anyone who's looking for advice, just remember what you're passionate about and continue to strive for that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Did you ever perform for any major performing arts theaters or art companies or anything like that?
Yeah, so back in grade 9, I think, around 2019, my mom used to enter me into these like online international competitions. And I ended up singing at Carnegie Hall like multiple times, which was a really fun experience. I was really young, and it was really cool to be in a room full of so much potential. I was described the green room, like right before you go on stage, like it was just buzzing with energy, and like that's a feeling that's so like irreplaceable. It's so beautiful. So yeah,
That's beautiful. How do your parents feel about you now, coming to this part of your life where they see a young, outstanding artist like yourself?
I hope they're proud. I think originally when I started singing, they were just like excited that I was like doing something that I really loved and that I was good at. And then eventually, like as it became more serious and like they realized that I actually wanted to take this like as a career, they became a lot more committed. And that was really nice because it was like, I know a lot of people who are in the arts field who don't have supportive parents, and I never had that issue. And yeah, it's really nice to feel supported by my parents and my teachers and have a really like supportive, loving environment. Yeah, my parents are always listening to what's going on at the Met and like what's going on in the opera field. If anything, like they're probably more immersed in music than I am. So yeah, they've been really helpful and really nice on this journey of figuring out my career.
Okay, beautiful. Beside the piano, is there any other instrument that you play?
Yeah, I really like to play the ukulele. Just for fun. And I also like to play like this is an instrument called a kalimba. It's like a little thumb piano. It's really fun. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, we are coming down to the last 4 minutes. So I'm going to give you the final words to address the public. My show airs not only here in the US, but it is throughout the entire Caribbean, through the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. And I'm telling you this for a fact, there are a lot of young people your age that are making some very bad decisions. And that's why I kept pressing you on this matter. Isn't because I am trying to like entrap you or anything like that. There are a lot of young people making some very bad decisions, from suicide to turning to drugs, turning to violence. They think that's the answer out. They end up in prison. I'm quite sure some of those young people need someone like yourself. I mean, before I didn't went into details to tell you about it, but I'm quite sure that some of those young people need to hear from someone like yourself. So consider in these next couple of minutes that you're not just speaking about yourself, you're addressing some young, desolate people in some far places that want to hear from someone positively. What advice would you want to give them to stay away from violence and drugs and gangs and be the person that they think they should be positive in society?
I definitely recognize that every situation is different, and Obviously, like the way that everyone gets involved in this and their experience is something that I will never be able to understand. But I think if there's anything that I can say to hopefully like make a difference is that it's never too late to turn things around. There are resources and you are not alone. So if you want to change your lifestyle and you're like, no, like this is not the way that I want to live my life. Like I definitely think that there is always time to like change your fate. And there's always people out there who are in the same position as you, and there are resources and people who want to help. So I definitely think just reach out, and it's never too late to turn your life around.
Well, that's beautifully said. Anjulie, I think it's a great pleasure having you on here today. I'm sure that you would have spoken to someone maybe in a desperate situation, and I hope they would take the advice to change their lives, knowing that there are great things in life that they can aspire to be. And none of those great things aren't drugs, aren't gangbanging, or anything like that. But music, it's all as the ancient times. It always plays an important role in the soothing of the soul, the relaxation of the mind. Anjulie, I want to say thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This won't be the last time we talk. At some point, we would like to connect again. And for all those who have been tuning in or living in the 21st century, I want to say thank you and have a blessed day.